Thank you, Chris. And yeah, always a pleasure to be back here on home turf. We've been taking the kind of survey release on the road a little lately, but always good to be back with our OMSC friends and partners who have done so much to make this effort happen. And what I want to do today is just give you, just give folks a reminder, and for anyone new, what our survey effort looked like this time and what our process is about. And then I also wanted to take you on kind of a little bit of a field trip through all of the different products and deliverables that are coming out of this round of our household travel survey. There are a broader range than we've had in the past, and I think everyone will find something or more than one thing to really dig into for their needs and agency work. So as a reminder, the Travel Survey Subcommittee of the OMSC was developed with the purpose of planning and implementing the household travel behavior study, the sort of key foundation to modeling and other work around the state that we have in the past done every 10 years or so. We're hoping to change that, as Chris alluded to. We're looking outward as always to our peer agencies and places like Ohio, which have a strong program of recurring surveys. The leadership team consists of myself, I'm Joe Broach. I'm at Portland Metro. We also have Thor Morris from ODOT and Kelly Clark from LCOG, and strong support also from Josh Kaczynski at LCOG. Helps us out too. And you're always welcome to get in touch with any of us if you have questions about the survey or the survey program. I also wanted to give a little special thanks, since we're getting here to the end of this round of the survey, to those who made it happen. I can't even take 1/3 of the credit for this one, because before I was in this seat, we had amazing support and guidance from Becky Knutson, now retired at ODOT, who has been part of the survey effort for a long time. Chris Johnson, who was the former Travel Survey Subcommittee chair, and then quite a laundry list of other helpful folks, including all of our agency and funding partners, including OMPOC and the MPOs and ODOT, of course, the consultant team that helped us implement this survey, RSG. And of course, the OMSC, you guys have done an amazing amount of review, helped us with planning, helped us make decisions along the way. And so I really hope that you'll benefit from the efforts and data. And then finally, we've got to say thanks to the over 20,000 participating Oregon households, which took time out of their busy schedule to collect this data so that we could understand how people are traveling in a new era in so many ways. So thanks to all. Just a quick reminder of how this project has developed. This round of the survey, anyway, began in 2019 with a scoping and funding effort. We did a lot, as we always do, of reaching out to peer agencies and understanding what the best practices had evolved into, so we could do our best at replicating those best practices here in Oregon. We're somewhat unusual, although we happen to have our friends, the other ODOT, who also do this, but it's pretty rare for a state to have a statewide coordinated travel survey effort, and we've been doing that in Oregon for quite a while, and I think there are tremendous benefits to everyone collecting data in the same way, at least around the same time, so that we can then do things like coordinate our model update effort, like we're doing with the activity sim and joint estimation work that Alex Bettinardi and others are leading. We're going to hear more about that later too. So we moved forward. We kind of slow rolled. We were going to collect data in more like 2020, but the world had other ideas, and so we used that to plan an even better survey. And we went into the field in spring of 2023 with a pilot, and then our main data collection efforts were in fall of 2023 and spring of 2024. So this is really going to be kind of a 2023-2024 data set when all is said and done. I'll mention how this survey differed from ones in the past. It collected a much richer data set, but it also meant that we had to work with a consultant to develop some new ways to process that data, make it consistent with the way we had collected data before, and most importantly, make it useful for our modeling and analysis efforts. We also we had, thanks to ODOT's contribution, we had a generous contingency fund. There was a lot of uncertainty about how people were going to respond to a survey post-pandemic, coming out of the pandemic. We wanted to be sure we had a buffer if response rates were lower than anticipated. When we started this, we started planning our mailings. We were still in the midst of all the supply chain disruptions. Just the cost of the paper to do the mailing from one week to another was blowing holes in the budget. Luckily, we kind of got lucky at every turn and ended up saving the bulk of our contingency funding, which we used to do quite a few add-on tasks, and that's a lot of what I'm going to be going through today. But those are just about wrapped up. We have one final add-on contingency task that we funded in this effort that's just about to go into the field, but otherwise we're wrapping it up. And so, as I alluded to, this is a brand new type of survey for us. The most recent one in Oregon was conducted 2009 to 2011. That was the Oregon Household Activities Survey, OHAS. It was one weekday. It was paper and telephone based. There's very limited location data, and we've updated most of those things. This survey took a hybrid approach. About half the participants used their smartphone to do some passive data collection along with answering the survey questionnaire, and that allowed them to participate for up to 7 days without being too burdensome. We also, from those households, got full GPS trace data, so we not only know the origin and destination, but the routes that they took from point A to point B. And we did quite a bit of additional outreach. We did everything we could to reach groups that had been hard to reach in the past, previously, historically underrepresented groups. And we did that by doing focus groups, tweaking our materials, doing additional outreach through some subcontractors, and then also tweaking our sampling and incentive strategies to try to do our best to be representative of all Oregon households. We also added quite a few new items to the survey questionnaire. That's the problem with surveys over time. It seems like you always want to keep the items you have, but there are always new ones that you have to add in, and it's a struggle. But we added those we had hoped would be most policy relevant by the time this data was ready. I think we did a fair job. So new items included questions about our TNCs, Uber and Lyfts, working from home and remote work, electrification, online shopping and e-commerce, and then bicycling infrastructure, attitudes toward different types of bicycle facilities. So for today's update, I'm going to give you a quick status update of where we are in this process. Like I said, we're kind of nearing the landing of this survey with you guys, and the data and other products are going to start to roll out over the coming weeks. And then I also want to take you on a quick tour of this universe of products from the survey. It's not just the travel survey data itself, but as I said, we funded quite a few add-ons to make for kind of a richer, a full, complete data set. And we'll talk about what those are and who they're intended for, and when and how you can access those through us or others. And then finally, just a little note on the future of the survey that I already kind of hinted at, but a quick update on that. So, status update. Like I said, we are right at the stage of rolling out our core survey products. Our final weighted data set is now final. It was final as of April 1. We are working on these kind of last little details of updating our data sharing agreements and the way that we're going to disseminate those, but that will be coming to our partner agencies in the next week or two, and then more broadly over time as we roll it out more widely. And that will also include a data user guide and a web reporting and visualization tool. More to come on that in just a sec. And as I said, we're kind of updating how we share the data. There's more of it, and it's a more complex data set than we've had in the past. And and there are potential new privacy concerns from the spatial resolution of the data that we want to be sure to stay on top of. For broader use in public access, we're going to be working with formerly NREL, the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, which is recently rebranded to NLR, the National Lab of the Rockies. They maintain a Transportation Secure Data Center, which is an archive of travel studies around the country. And we're going to contribute to that, and in return, they will host the data set for us, an anonymized version without the spatial information for public and research access, and then a really tightly firewalled spatial version of the data set for kind of heavy research users or others. That won't change the way that any of our agency partners here in Oregon access the data necessarily. You'll still be able to get it from us, just like we've done in the past, but we're hoping that this will let the data get an even broader set of use and analysis. We're currently in the process of kind of transferring some of these tools and data from the consultant to our OMSC website, oregonmodels.org, which will be the primary kind of portal for a lot of these data products. And we'll be getting in touch with you if you're a funding partner then in the next week or two. But if for some reason you don't hear from us, feel free to reach out anytime. And we're continuing to review the kind of last drafts of some of these deliverables and overseeing some of the add-on projects. And at the same time, we're looking ahead. So as we wrap this one up, we're immediately going to pivot into a plan for the next round of surveys. This is a huge opportunity, having done what I think is an excellent data collection effort this round, very comprehensive base, which to launch into a more regular survey program, which is becoming the state of the practice. So instead of 10 years from now, hopefully we'll be coming back with data to you in the next 2 or 3 years, and then at regular intervals from there on. So with that, let me dive into. It's going to be a quick tour, so don't worry. It looks like a long list, but we'll go through it point by point. These are our main Oregon travel study products. In addition to that main data set and some documentation and tools around that, we have quite a few other items of interest. And one of those is we were able to fund an upcoding of the previous survey, the 2009 to 11 OHAS, to align with the current data set. So it's just 2 points in time, but 2 is better than 1. You can kind of see the trends in a large portion of the travel behavior variables that we collect in the survey. So we can see to a pretty good extent how things were changing. And it'll never be totally apples to apples, but we aligned it as best we could. We also funded quite a few survey add-ons, as I mentioned, including an e-commerce study, qualitative interviews with households, a bike routing exercise, and a value of time study, which is still in the field. The main weighted data set is much larger than any we've had in the past because of those households that did the 7-day data collection, and just because our sample is expanding along with the population in Oregon. So this is 750,000 trips that were recorded over 185,000 travel days by our participants. And like I said, about half of those, we have a full week of data. So for the first time, we have weekend data, and we have a person's trajectory over the week, which I think a lot of us realize is becoming more and more important, day-to-day variation in travel. There are nearly 500 coded variables at household, vehicle, people, person, trip, and location level. So there is just a tremendous amount of data to start working through, and I know we're all eager to do so, and I look forward to seeing what everyone does with it. This is a statistically representative sample. It's about 1% of households around the state, and they were sampled in a way that we can expand them to an estimate of full population in most cases, and that's why this is the foundational data set. Unlike a big data or a passive data source, We know who's in and who's out, and we also know the why and the who, and not just the where and when. So this is it's going to be a rich data set for modeling, but I think also for policy analysis and other understanding of our traveling public. It comes with a great data user guide. No more Microsoft Word data dictionary that you have to scroll through. It's a very nice HTML file that you can click through. You can see a snapshot of it there. It includes, by popular request, a searchable code book of these 500 variables along with their coding values. It's also self-contained in a way. If you want to dive deeper, there's a series of technical memos, but the data user guide itself contains a nice summary of kind of the methodology behind the study. And very excited about this part, it includes an analyst handbook, which has some reproducible code snippets and examples for common queries that we all want to do, like summing up trip rates by different trip types or household types, calculating VMT in different ways. So things that we'll commonly do, instead of having to start from zero, we'll have some nice examples of how to query the data and do those correctly with the weights. Another very exciting product to come out of this that we were able to fund is a data reporting and visualization tool. This will be web-based and will allow, we hope, a broader range of people to access the data, to run queries on different combinations of variables. You can filter by geography, so you can restrict it to your own MPO or set of counties that you're interested in, or types of user. And it provides both these graphical outputs that you see here, but it also provides numeric tables that you can then download and post-process or display the way you want. I think this is really exciting, and I hope it opens the data up to a broader range of users. Our intention is eventually this web tool will be publicly available. That will be a little while. In the meantime, it is available by request. It's beyond a beta version of the tool, but there will still be some tweaks done before it's made public. So if you are interested in accessing the data via this tool and trying it out, please reach out to one of the survey leadership team, and we will get you a login to that tool and data. That's not to say that we're not going to have our classic glossy executive summary reports that are probably targeted to the broadest range of interested parties and to our policymakers and elected officials. It's a good starting point to just get the high-level story of the survey and the trends that we're seeing around the state. That has not quite been finalized yet, but is close. We're expecting a final version at the end of this month, and then sometime shortly after that, those of you who are partners or involved with the Travel Survey Subcommittee, you will likely receive a request to review it. It's going to have a statewide snapshot of the data, but also region-specific. So each NPO in the state, as well as rest of Oregon, will have a section that kind of shows the key trends in their area. So we'll be running that by you for comment and tweaks before it is finalized, and this one will, of course, be publicly available on the website. We had an e-commerce add-on survey. There's been a lot of interest in how households are participating in e-commerce and online shopping. We don't have the full picture, of course. We're not, this is a household travel survey. We're not surveying the delivery trucks and drivers directly, but we do know through questions on the survey roughly how frequently households get deliveries. The e-commerce add-on survey leveraged a selection of households who opted in to do additional survey work for us. This has been a really valuable piece of this survey, asking folks, would you be willing to participate in another round of survey? And I think 80+% said they would, and we get a very high response rate, which allows us to do more with fewer resources. So about 1,600 completed an add-on e-commerce, which extended the main survey questions to include like the frequency by type of good, and also asked them about their opportunities and activities of in-person shopping near where they lived, which we could get somewhat from the travel survey, but this got it in a much more precise way. Those results are complete and have been delivered and are available now by request. Eventually will be public on the website. We did some qualitative interviews. I think this is a first for us in the Oregon survey process. Through our focus groups and other outreach early on, we recognized that the travel survey was going to have a tough time capturing the sort of context within which some groups in Oregon conduct their daily travel. And so with 100 households, the vast majority of which were lower income, and then some other variables of interest like zero car ownership, those households that use transit a lot, larger households, et cetera, were selected to do some pretty long, up to an hour of semi-structured interviews. And this, I think, there's just a lot in there, especially when you combine it with the main data source, with the travel survey, to kind of fill in some context about how people are feeling about things, why they're making the decisions they are. You see some quotes pulled here around how travel costs affect their daily travel decisions. And it's already been divided into themes and summarized for us. So there's a nice report as well as a presentation or a slide deck that summarizes the results. But we're also hoping to make the transcripts themselves available so that people who had more of a research or an in-depth interest in a particular topic could resort the data in a different way. We just need to make sure that we can protect individual privacy before releasing those. But the report is available now by request and will eventually be publicly posted. I mentioned we had this great GPS trace data from a lot of users, and one of the use cases that was identified as high priority was an update to our regional bicycle modeling, in particular our route choice models. We have some new types of infrastructure around the state that we just didn't have the last time there was a GPS data collection. And so this is going to be really valuable to updating our bike model capability. But in order to do that, we have to join these kind of rough traces, which you see there in the image in black. These are the raw GPS points for a hypothetical trip. Those need to be joined to a network so we understand what types of facilities they were choosing and those that they had as alternatives. So we did that statewide. So all areas that had bike trips will have this available. It used the great statewide OSM network that ODOT funded and developed some time back, and it was also joined to Metro's bike modeling network in addition, which is where we've had the most development over the years in bike modeling. So yeah, we've got over 6,000 bike trips modeling. Just as a quick comparison, I think the original regional bike model work at Metro was based on around 1,400 trips. So we're talking about 4 times as many as we had before. And the last piece before I wrap up here is a value of time add-on study. This one is specifically to support our activity-based model development and estimation effort. We realized that without doing this, we were going to have to rely on pulling in national or other regions' values of time to understand folks' reaction to different options for cost and time savings. And this will allow us to substitute Oregon-specific values. This is a stated choice experiment. The design is complete, and it's going to be in the field over the next couple of months. Again, going back to our participants who agreed to opt in to do additional surveys. I think this is going to be a really neat piece of work, and particularly that it's happening post-pandemic. We haven't had a lot of chances to see how people's value of trading off travel time for cost has maybe changed given the new work arrangements post-pandemic. Results should be available later this summer. And finally, I'll just wrap up, and this is a nice segue into our next presentation. What are we looking to the future? Well, we want to be able to do things like this. So this is an example from our friends up north, the Puget Sound Regional Council in Seattle. They have been doing a recurring survey on a 2-year cycle. So you can kind of see how that allows them to track trends. For instance, this is a major disruptive event, but even just generally over time. And we would like to be able to do the same instead of having those points 10 years apart. So that's our goal. We're working on a draft plan to collect travel data more regularly. Our overall aim is something comparable to the current effort in terms of sample size and cost, but we would spread that out over multiple data collections for, say, a 10-year period. So we're not looking to spend more or to survey less. We're just looking to do it more frequently and align it better with our planning processes at agencies. So Metro in Portland is currently funding a review of similar survey programs at peer agencies like Ohio. And we're also going to come up with 2 or 3 alternative plans, ways we can go about this and keep this as a statewide effort. And so much more to come there, and you'll have many opportunities for input before we make any final decisions. And with that, thank you. Here's our contact info. Thank you, Chris and OMSC, for giving us the time on the docket today to give you an update. I hope everyone's as excited about these products as we are. I know some of you have been waiting quite a while for them, but the wait will be worth it, I think, based on what we're seeing. So again, appreciate all that you've done to enable this effort to be the success that I think it's been. And yeah, do reach out. If you have questions, we'll be reaching out to some of you very soon about data delivery and requesting your review on some of the summary materials. So with that, I'll hand it back to you, Chris.